This isn't just another Saturday slate. July 20th delivers a 15-game war zone across the majors, and the sharpest bettors know the edges are everywhere. From wind tunnels in Fenway to trap totals in Oakland, today's board is packed with hidden gems and deceptive danger. The lines are already moving, the props are mispriced, and if you're still capping like it's April, you're going to get burned. This is the kind of day that separates casual picks from calculated money, if you've got the guts to dig deeper. Every park, every matchup, every pitcher split, it all matters. And we've got it all right here. Game 1 Blue Jays vs Giants. The Toronto Blue Jays open up Sunday's action welcoming the San Francisco Giants to Rogers Center in what looks like a critical tone-setting game for both sides as the post-All-Star grind tightens. First pitch is scheduled for 9:05 a.m. Pacific, and we're expecting the dome to remain closed, keeping weather effects neutral, fast turf in play, and ideal conditions for offensive action, especially for right-handed bats who thrive on hard infield contact. This matchup features two teams trending in opposite directions offensively, with the Blue Jays showing signs of heating up after a sluggish start to the season, while the Giants' lineup continues to sputter against quality right-handed pitching, and that's exactly what they're about to face in the form of Kevin Gausman. Let's start with Toronto's ace, Gausman, who takes the mound with his usual devastating mix of mid-90s fastballs and an elite splitter. His command has been crisp in July, carrying a 3.02 ERA and a 0.99 WHIP over his last 3 outings. Notably, he's struck out 25 batters in just 17 innings in that span, and more importantly, he's done it with improved efficiency. That's crucial against a Giants offense that ranks in the bottom 10 in strikeout avoidance against right-handed pitching in July. San Francisco is hitting just .227 as a team this month against righties, with an on-base percentage of .294 and one of the worst slugging percentages, .362, in the National League during that stretch. Gausman should feast on this matchup. The Giants are also extremely top-heavy. When you shut down Thairo Estrada and Matt Chapman, there's very little resistance coming from the rest of this batting order. Combine that with the fact that Gausman is averaging 1.5 strikeouts per inning at home this season, and it becomes clear that the veteran right-hander is set up to dominate. On the flip side, Keaton Winn gets the start for San Francisco. It's been a bumpy ride for the rookie, who has posted a 5.12 ERA and 1.44 WHIP across 13 appearances. He's been struggling mightily with location, especially early in games, allowing 8.298 batting average against in the first 2 innings. He relies heavily on a low 90s fastball and a splitter, but the latter hasn't generated consistent whiff rates, and hitters are slugging over .480 on pitches in the heart of the plate. Toronto has the bats to exploit that. Vladimir Guerrero Jr. is seeing the ball as well as he has all year, slashing .327, .413, .596 with 4 home runs in his last 8 games. George Springer has quietly raised his on-base percentage by nearly 40 points since the start of July. And Bo Bichette is riding a 9-game hit streak into this one, putting pressure on every starter with aggressive first-pitch swings and opposite field power. If Winn can't keep the ball on the edges, and there's no evidence to suggest he suddenly will, it's going to be a long day for the Giants' bullpen, which has already been taxed heavily in the past 2 series. That San Francisco bullpen, once a strength, has turned volatile in July. The Giants have blown 3 saves in their last 10 games and allowed inherited runners to score at the 4th highest clip in the league this month. Meanwhile, the Jays' bullpen has quietly stabilized into a weapon. Yimi Garcia, Chad Green, and Nate Pearson are all throwing gas, and they're limiting hard contact better than any AL bullpen not located in Cleveland. If Toronto gets to the 7th inning with a lead, this one's probably over. The Jays are 32-6 this year when leading after 6. But even before the bullpen chess match starts, this game looks lopsided due to how well Toronto's lineup profiles against a pitcher like Winn. The Blue Jays are one of the most aggressive fastball hitting teams in the league. Since the All-Star break, they rank 4th in slugging on pitches 94 miles per hour or slower. Wynn's fastball is averaging just 93.1 miles per hour in July, and he's struggling to get above 15% whiff rate on it. That's dangerous when facing power bats like Guerrero and Chapman, who are quick to turn on velocity that doesn't have movement. Another underrated edge for Toronto: their defense. The Jays are top 5 in defensive runs saved, while the Giants rank near the bottom third. That matters when a pitcher like Wynn is giving up hard ground balls and needs defenders to bail him out. The Blue Jays have converted 72% of ground balls into outs since June 1st. The Giants are barely at 64%. Over a 9-inning game, those small margins matter, especially when they lead to longer innings and bullpen exposure. From a betting perspective, this game screams Toronto value. Even if the money line is hovering in the -150 to -160 range, it's still a favorable number when you factor in the edge in starting pitching, bullpen strength, lineup health, and home field. The run line at +135 to +145 is extremely attractive, especially since Wynn tends to unravel early and has one of the highest hard hit rates allowed among starters with at least 50 innings. Toronto's team total, likely around 4.5, is another strong angle, particularly considering they've scored 5 or more runs in 5 of their last 7 home games and now face a pitcher with a walk rate over 10% and minimal swing and miss. On the prop front, Kevin Gausman is in line for a strong strikeout day. His line will likely be set around 6.5, and it's an overplay. The Giants whiff at 23.9% versus righties in July and are bottom 5 in contact rate on pitches below the zone, exactly where Gausman lives with his splitter. Expect 8 to 10 strikeouts unless his pitch count becomes a factor due to deep counts. Home run props for Toronto are in play too. Vladimir Guerrero Jr. is the clear favorite to go deep. He's crushing belt-high fastballs and will likely see 2 to 3 prime pitches to launch. Another value play: Dalton Varsho, who hits righties with far more power and gets a juicy matchup against Wynn's middling velocity. Varsho's .235 ISO against right-handers makes him a legit dark horse to go yard. For total bases, Bo Bichette over 1.5 looks very playable. He's hitting everything right now, and his ability to go the other way increases the chances he gets at least a double and a single. Matt Chapman is also worth a look. He's barreling the ball at a higher rate this month and should see hittable pitches if Guerrero is on base. If you're crafting a same-game parlay, look at something like Toronto moneyline, Guerrero to record a hit, Gausman 6+ strikeouts, and Bichette 1+ total base. That combo should land you somewhere between +250 and +300 depending on the book, and all 4 legs are statistically supported. It's a solid low-risk, moderate-reward build that capitalizes on Toronto's control over nearly every edge in this matchup. In the end, this feels like a game Toronto needs to win, and will win. Gausman is set up to carve through this inconsistent Giants lineup. The offense is awakening at just the right time, and the bullpen is trending toward dominance. The Giants look outmatched on paper and in practice, and unless Keaton Wynn delivers a career-best outing and their bullpen hangs on by a thread, this one could get out of hand by the middle innings. Final score prediction: Blue Jays 6, Giants 2. Toronto jumps ahead early, Gausman goes 6 strong, and the Jays bullpen slams the door shut. Lock it in. Game 2: Orioles vs. Rays. The Baltimore Orioles and Tampa Bay Rays square off in a pivotal AL East clash on Sunday, July 20th, at Tropicana Field, with first pitch scheduled for 9:10 a.m. Pacific. As always at the Trop, weather is a non-factor with the roof closed, and the fast turf inside the dome will reward hard contact hitters who can use speed and sharp angles to create pressure. The Rays are one of the best at playing to those conditions, but the Orioles have built a roster that's just as dynamic, and what we have here is a potential playoff preview between two teams with contrasting strengths, one built on contact and speed, the other on bullpen depth, pitching movement, and clutch bats. The mound matchup favors Baltimore early. Kyle Bradish, one of the most underrated arms in the American League, takes the ball for the Orioles. Bradish has been brilliant over his last 4 starts, posting a 2.31 ERA with 30 strikeouts and just 6 walks in 23.1 innings pitched. The key has been command. His slider has been untouchable against both lefties and righties, generating a whiff rate above 41% in July. That pitch will be especially important against a Tampa Bay lineup that struggles with breaking balls low and away. They rank 28th in slugging percentage on sliders this month. Bradish also matches up well with Tampa's approach. The Rays are a patient team, but Bradish throws strikes and doesn't nibble. His first pitch strike rate is north of 67%, and he gets ahead early, which allows him to expand later in counts. That puts a team like the Rays, who depend on working counts to create chaos on the bases, at a disadvantage. Opposing Bradish is Zach Little, a right-hander who's done a good job transitioning into a full-time starter role but has limitations that could be exposed here. Little owns a respectable 3.88 ERA and has shown flashes of brilliance, but his contact profile is concerning. He gives up a ton of hard contact, particularly on fastballs in the middle third, and his whiff rate sits in the bottom third of qualified starters. Against a Baltimore team that loves ambushing early fastballs and punishes mistakes in the zone, that could be a problem. Baltimore ranks second in hard hit percentage against right-handed pitchers since the All-Star break, and no team has hit more home runs on fastballs 93 miles per hour or slower than the Orioles over the last 2 weeks. What makes this Orioles offense so dangerous isn't just the power, it's the balance. Gunnar Henderson is playing at an MVP level, with elite plate discipline, barrel rate, and opposite field power. Anthony Santander has been locked in, posting a 1.028 OPS in July. Ryan Mountcastle and Adley Rutzman give the middle-of-the-order balance, and Jordan Westburg has quietly developed into one of the most efficient bottom-third bats in the league. This lineup rarely gives away at bats, and against a contact-heavy arm like Little who depends on balls in play and weak contact, that's a risky proposition. Especially considering Tampa Bay's defense has regressed slightly this season. The Rays still flash elite athleticism in the infield, but their outfield range metrics are below average, and against a Baltimore team that sprays the ball to all fields, those defensive gaps can be exploited. Another major advantage for Baltimore comes in the bullpen. While Tampa Bay's pen has traditionally been a strength, they've shown real cracks in July. Pete Fairbanks has dealt with command issues, and Jason Adam has given up multiple leads in high-leverage situations over the past 2 weeks. Meanwhile, the Orioles' pen has quietly become a force again. Yennier Cano has rediscovered his dominant sinker, Danny Coulombe is neutralizing lefties again, and Craig Kimbrell has been sharp in closing duties, with his fastball splitter combo working effectively even into back-to-back appearances. If this game is tight heading into the final 3 innings, Baltimore holds the clear edge. Offensively, there's also the question of clutch performance, and Baltimore simply gets the job done late. They lead the AL in runs scored from the 7th inning onward and have shown a consistent ability to string together pressure-packed innings even when behind in the count. That resilience matters in matchups like this, especially when playing on the road in a low-scoring dome like Tropicana Field, where games can turn on one mistake. From a betting perspective, this game profiles perfectly for Baltimore value. The Orioles are underpriced in most spots because of Tampa Bay's home reputation, but the truth is, the Rays have been pedestrian at the Trop in 2025. They're barely above .500 at home and have scored 3 or fewer runs in 6 of their last 10 games in this building. With Bradish on the mound, the Orioles should be favored, especially given how their offense matches up with Little's repertoire. The moneyline around -110 to -115 is playable, but the true edge may come on the run line or team totals. Baltimore's team total over 4.5 is in play given Little's recent HR fly ball spike and the Orioles' power surge, and the F5 line is playable up to -0.5 runs at -110. For prop bettors, Kyle Bradish's strikeout line will likely be set at 5.5, and the over should be the target. Tampa Bay is striking out 25.1% of the time against right-handed pitching since the break and is especially vulnerable to high-velocity sliders. Bradish's K upside is legitimate, and if he gets into the 6th inning, he could clear this number by 2 or more. Home run props also have value here. Gunnar Henderson is a prime target. He's slugging .731 against righties in July and has gone deep 5 times in his last 9 games. Anthony Santander is another elite option. He's launching the ball with a 44% fly ball rate and has taken little deep before. If you're looking at total bases props, Rutzman is a sneaky value play. He's been hitting from both sides with equal effectiveness and sees a ton of strikes early in counts. Henderson over 1.5 total bases is also in play. He's a near lock for multiple hard-hit balls when facing low-whiff arms. The parlay angles here are attractive too. A low-risk, mid-payout same-game parlay could include Orioles moneyline, Bradish 6+ strikeouts, Henderson to record a hit, and Santander over 0.5 total bases. That build should yield around +320 depending on your sportsbook and could easily hit given how the game profiles. In conclusion, the Orioles hold the advantage in every major category: starting pitching, offensive power, bullpen depth, and recent form. Tampa Bay can't be counted out entirely, especially with their small ball approach and home field quirkiness, but the trends and data strongly favor Baltimore. Bradish is in rhythm, the Orioles' bats are alive, and the Rays simply don't have the high-end stuff or plate presence to keep up if this turns into a 4-run-plus game. Expect Baltimore to take early control and never let go. Final score prediction: Orioles 5, Rays 3. Baltimore scores in the first inning, holds a 3-1 lead through 5, and closes the door. With shutdown bullpen work in the final frames. Game 3: Phillies vs. Angels. The Philadelphia Phillies will look to wrap up their weekend series against the Los Angeles Angels with a statement win Sunday afternoon at Citizens Bank Park. First pitch is scheduled for 10:35 a.m. Pacific. With both teams on the edge of their respective postseason races, this matchup holds significant implications, but it's also a study in contrast. The Phillies have leaned on power and top-tier starting pitching to carry them, while the Angels are in the middle of a transition period, navigating a depleted roster and a pitching staff that's constantly under pressure. That dynamic sets up a potential mismatch in favor of the home team, especially with how these two starters profile. For the Phillies, left-hander Ranger Suarez gets the call, and that's fantastic news for Philadelphia. Suarez has been one of the most efficient and underrated arms in baseball this year, owning a 2.61 ERA and 0.96 WHIP across 18 starts. What makes Suarez elite isn't just his results, it's his consistency and control. He doesn't walk hitters, doesn't allow big innings, and works quickly through lineups by mixing his sinker, changeup, and cutter with surgical command. Over his last 5 starts, Suarez has gone at least 6 innings in every outing, struck out 33 batters, and allowed just 5 earned runs. The key has been his ability to get ahead in counts and expand late. Against a depleted Angels lineup that lacks lefty mashers and struggles to generate traffic without the long ball, this matchup tilts heavily in the Phillies' favor. Opposing him is Angels right-hander Chase Silseth, who's still trying to establish his rhythm post-injury. Silseth brings some swing and miss upside with a solid slider and a mid-90s fastball, but command issues and inconsistency have haunted him in 2025. Through 9 starts, he's posted a 4.88 ERA with a 1.42 WHIP, and has allowed multiple earned runs in every outing but one. His biggest issue: home runs and hard contact. Opponents are slugging .502 against him, and he's already allowed 10 home runs in under 50 innings pitched. That's a dangerous stat line when heading into Citizens Bank Park, one of the league's most home run-friendly parks for right-handed fly ball pitchers. Silseth doesn't have a reliable out-pitch against left-handers, and the Phillies have a lethal set of lefty bats ready to pounce. That includes Bryce Harper, who remains the heartbeat of the Philadelphia lineup. Harper has been dominant against right-handers at home, slugging .640 with 11 home runs and 8.439 OBP since June 1. Silseth's pitch mix, fastball heavy with below-average command, is tailor-made for Harper's upper zone power. Kyle Schwarber also looms large in this matchup. While Schwarber's average is pedestrian, he leads the league in home runs off righties with average velocity and thrives on mistake pitches in hitters' counts. That's precisely the kind of sequencing Silseth struggles with. Add in Bryson Stott, Alec Boehm, and a surging Nick Castellanos, and this Phillies lineup has the firepower to punish any lapse in command or velocity. Another advantage for the Phillies lies in their approach. Philadelphia has become far more patient at the plate in the second half. They're seeing more pitches per at-bat and forcing pitchers into deep counts, something that could exhaust Silseth early and expose an Angels bullpen that's already on fumes. The Halos' bullpen has been among the league's worst over the last 30 days, with a combined 5.41 ERA, a whip near 1.60, and a bottom 3 strikeout rate. Simply put, they're not missing bats, and they're not avoiding barrels. That's not a good combination against a Phillies team that's built to drive the ball deep in. Pile on late. The Angels' offense, meanwhile, is in rough shape. With Mike Trout still sidelined and the lineup built around a mix of young talent and waiver pickups, there's very little consistency. Taylor Ward remains a dangerous bat in the middle of the order, and Logan O'Hoppe is showing flashes of power behind the plate, but beyond that, the Angels struggle to generate sustained rallies. They've scored 3 or fewer runs in 7 of their last 10 games and have a team ops under .700 on the road in July. Against a pitcher like Suarez who rarely walks batters and neutralizes right-handed hitters with a filthy changeup, the Angels could find themselves pressing early and falling behind on the scoreboard before they settle in. From a tactical standpoint, the Phillies should be aggressive early against Silseth. First pitch fastballs are coming 68% of the time from the young righty, and opposing teams have slugged .622 against him when swinging early in the count. Expect Schwarber, Harper, and Castellanos to jump on mistakes quickly. On defense, the Phillies are fielding one of their strongest alignments of the season, with Johan Rojas covering serious ground in center field and Boehm showing improvements at third base. With Suarez on the mound and a clean infield behind him, weak contact should turn into easy outs, allowing the Phillies to control tempo from the first inning. Betting-wise, this is one of the clearest edges of the day. The Phillies' moneyline may be juiced to -175 or higher, but it's still playable in parlays or as a base for alternate run lines. The real value lies in the first 5 innings, where the Phillies hold all the aces. Suarez should cruise through 5 with a lead, while Silseth will likely struggle to hold back a hot Phillies lineup. The F5 run line at -0.5 is playable up to -125. The full game run line at -1.5 offers value around +120, particularly when you factor in the bullpen disparity and the potential for the Phillies to extend a late lead. On the props front, Ranger Suarez is worth targeting for strikeouts. His line should sit around 5.5, and the over is live. The Angels strike out 26.4% of the time on the road against left-handed pitching, and Suarez has gone over this number in 4 of his last 6 starts. For home run props, both Harper and Schwarber are in prime position. Harper against fastball-heavy right-handers in his home ballpark is nearly automatic. Schwarber remains one of the league's top fly ball hitters, and he's due to go deep after a stretch of loud outs. Total bases props are also in play. Harper over 1.5 bases is an elite option, and Castellanos, who's quietly batting over .300 in July, is another strong candidate. For a same-game parlay angle, consider Phillies' moneyline, Harper to record a hit, Suarez 5+ strikeouts, and Schwarber to record a total base. That build should return around +280 and is anchored by high-probability legs. In terms of final score projection, this one shapes up like a 6-2 Phillies win. Suarez goes 6 strong, Harper drives in a pair, and the bullpen finishes clean while the Angels scratch out a couple of runs in low-leverage spots. The matchup advantages are clear, and unless Chase Silseth delivers the outing of his life, Philadelphia should be in firm control from start to finish. Game 4 White Sox vs Pirates. This is the type of matchup that should scream, trap game, for casual bettors, two bottom-dwelling teams, no playoff implications, and two starters with inflated eras. But here's where value lives if you know where to look. The Pittsburgh Pirates send Quinn Priester to the mound, a righty with plenty of question marks and some small flashes of development. His biggest issue? Hard contact. Lefties are slugging .537 against him this year, and his barrel rate is hovering dangerously near 11%. He's been relying too heavily on his four-seamer, a pitch that has been utterly ineffective when he's behind in counts. His secondary stuff has shown some life, particularly the curveball, but command remains the problem. When he misses arm side or leaves pitches up, he gets punished, and this is where the White Sox, despite their miserable record, could be a problem. Chicago isn't a good team by any means, but they've quietly been hitting righties better than expected this month. In the last 14 days, they're top 10 in slugging versus RHP and actually rank top 5 in isolated power against right-handed fastballs. Eloy Jimenez and Gavin Sheets have been heating up, and even Andrew Vaughn is putting better swings on the ball. Their approach has shifted slightly, fewer chases, more early count aggression. That works against Priester, who has a tendency to nibble when he's behind and hasn't shown the ability to put hitters away efficiently. The problem for the White Sox? Their own starter. Eric Feta has been one of the only bright spots in Chicago's rotation, but his recent starts have been trending the wrong way. He's posted a 4.91 ERA in July with declining strikeout numbers and rising walk rate. Feta reinvented himself in Korea and came back to MLB with a better arsenal, leaning on a sweeper and split-change combo that fooled hitters for the first half. But that deception is wearing off. Opponents are now sitting on his sinker, and when he tries to adjust, he leaves his breaking stuff over the heart of the plate. Left-handed batters are hitting .312 against him since June 15. That's a problem when you face a Pirates lineup that, while streaky, can put up crooked numbers against righties when the conditions are right. Brian Reynolds is back in rhythm, slashing .309, .385, .506 in July with elite zone contact numbers. Jack Sawinski has seen his ops spike against righties and is seeing the ball better at night. And O'Neal Cruz. He's chasing less and walking more, which is a dangerous sign for Feta. Pittsburgh's road offense has also been more disciplined in recent weeks, improving their walk rate to 9.7% over their last 10 road games. They're putting pressure on opposing starters early, forcing high pitch counts, and hunting fastballs in early counts. That's a formula that works against someone like Feta who hasn't gone past 5 innings in 3 of his last 4 starts. This matchup screams volatility. 2 starters with red flags. 2 lineups that have been inconsistent all season, but both flashing signs of upward movement in July. The Pirates' bullpen is the slightly better unit here. Since July 1, Pittsburgh relievers rank top 10 in whip and strikeout rate, and they've been solid in leverage spots. David Bednar is healthy again and reclaiming his role as a dominant closer. Meanwhile, the White Sox bullpen continues to implode. They're bottom 5 in ERA, /9, and walks since the All-Star break. It's hard to trust Chicago to hold any kind of late lead, especially with how unpredictable their middle relief has been. Add in the fact that Chicago is one of the worst defensive teams in baseball, ranking dead last in defensive runs saved, and you have a team that not only gives up runs but gifts them away with bad positioning and missed fundamentals. That matters in close games, and it'll matter here. What we're left with is a matchup where the Pirates are the slightly more complete, or rather, less broken, team. Their starter has more upside. Their offense is seeing righties well. Their bullpen is stronger. And they're playing with more energy. Chicago looks like a team ready to sell off at the deadline and sleepwalk through the rest of the month. That doesn't mean the Pirates will win in a blowout. This game will have swings, but it means Pittsburgh is far more trustworthy in the second half of the game. The model edge is slim, but the edge is real. Best bet. Pirates moneyline -120 or better. Fade the White Sox bullpen. Priester might give up 3 to 4 runs, but Pittsburgh should do more damage against Feta and the Chicago pen. If you see -115 or better, fire. Bonus run line look. Pirates -1.5 +145. More aggressive, but worth a small sprinkle. This game could end 6-3 or 7-4 if the Pirates get to the bullpen early. Home run prop target. Jack Sawinski +500 or better. He's pulling more fly balls, facing a pitcher who struggles against lefties, and the weather projects mild winds out to right field. Strikeout prop. Eric Feta under 4.5 kiloseconds. Pittsburgh isn't a high strikeout team lately, and Feta's swing and miss stuff has been fading. Total bases pick. Brian Reynolds over 1.5 total bases. He's smoking the ball in July, and Feta doesn't have a reliable pitch to neutralize him from the left side. SGP build. Pirates ML plus Reynolds 1 plus hit plus Sawinski 1 plus total base plus 220 to plus 270 range depending on book. Simple, correlated, high leverage combo. Final score prediction. Pirates 6, White Sox 4. It won't be clean, but Pittsburgh has the more dynamic offense and enough bullpen juice to survive the late innings. Game 5. Washington Nationals vs San Diego Padres. Petco remains pitcher-friendly with heavy marine layer influence during night games. Fly balls tend to die out near the warning track, especially in center and right center. Left-handed power can carry slightly better, but overall, this park suppresses runs unless the weather is unseasonably warm or the bullpens implode. This is a fascinating pitching duel between Mackenzie Gore and Dylan Cease, two flamethrowers who thrive on strikeouts but have very different season arcs heading into this matchup. Gore, once a top Padres prospect, returns to face the team that traded him away in the Juan Soto deal. He's quietly developing into an ace for Washington, flashing swing and miss stuff with his high-octane fastball and a power curveball that's finally finding consistent command. In July, Gore holds a 2.38 ERA with a whip under 1.05, limiting hard contact and showing poise on the mound despite limited run support. Cease has had a roller coaster of a season. His ERA hovers near 4.40, but his underlying metrics suggest he's better than that. The Padres' inconsistent defense hasn't helped, and while Cease's strikeout numbers remain elite, his fastball command has been spotty, leaving him vulnerable to early inning damage. In his last 3 starts, he's allowed 3+ runs in the first 3 innings each time, struggling particularly with left-handed bats who punish his mistakes up in the zone. The Nationals, despite being under .500, have been a thorn in the side of playoff contenders. C.J. Abrams continues to blossom into a legitimate star with speed, pop, and improving patience. Luis Garcia and Lane Thomas give the lineup some balance, and Joey Meneses has started heating up after a brutal slump to start the year. The Nats' issue remains their bullpen, which ranks 28th in ERA over the last 30 days. If Gore doesn't go 6+, they're in trouble late. The Padres, on the other hand, are trying to stay afloat in a loaded NL West. Fernando Tatis Jr. and Manny Machado have both been feast or famine this month, while Jake Cronenworth has been quietly carrying the offense. Jurickson Profar is having a career year, and Jackson Merrill is starting to look like the real deal in center field. The lineup is dangerous, but also streaky, and if Cease struggles early again, this game could get away from them fast. Best bets. Nationals plus 1.5 minus 120 with Gore on the mound and Cease's volatility. This is a classic one-run game setup. The Nats have covered the run line in 8 of their last 10 games as road dogs. Under 8.5 total runs minus 115. Petco's Marine Layer plus 2 high strikeout arms should suppress scoring unless bullpens collapse. Both starters are capable of keeping it 3-2 deep into the 7th. Strikeout props. Mackenzie Gore over 6.5 kiloseconds plus 105. The Padres whiff at a 24.2% rate versus lefties and Gore is averaging 10.8 K9 this month. Plus, motivation facing his former club should elevate his intensity. Dylan Cease under 7.5 kiloseconds minus 130. Washington doesn't strike out a ton versus righties, especially the top half of their order. Cease's recent walk issues have also cut his innings short. Home run props. Lane Thomas plus 475. Cease struggles with command up and in versus righties, and Thomas has slugged .505 vs fastballs in that quadrant. His pull power plays well even at Petco. Jake Cronenworth plus 500 quietly on a heater and hitting lefties better this season than ever before. Gore's one flaw is the occasional middle in fastball, and Jake has been jumping on those pitches. Total bases picks. C.J. Abrams over 1.5 total bases plus 135 has hit safely in 12 of his last 14 and is a threat for doubles and infield singles alike. He's seeing the ball extremely well versus right-handed pitching. Jurickson Profar over 1.5 total bases plus 125, one of the most consistent Padres this year. Batting over .315 vs lefties in 2025 and often sees 3 at-bats against lefty starters. Bonus bets run line angles. First 5 innings. Nationals plus 0.5 plus 100. If Gore neutralizes the top of San Diego's order, the Nationals can either lead or hold even through 5. Race to 3 runs. Nationals plus 145. Cease's early struggles plus Gore's consistency gives Washington a shot to jump out early, especially with Abrams Thomas setting the tone. Same game parlay SGP builder. Mackenzie Gore 6 plus Ks. C.J. Abrams 1 plus hit. Nationals plus 1.5. Projected payout, plus 375 to plus 425 depending on sportsbook. Safe 3-leg base with correlation on Gore and Abrams production keeping it close. Want more value? Add Lane Thomas to hit a home run OR over 1.5 terabytes for plus 900 payout range. Final score prediction. Nationals 4. Padres 3. This one profiles as a grinder. Gore keeps the Padres in check for 6 innings, while Washington scrapes together just enough offense off Cease to take the lead early. A blown save is possible either way, but if Gore hands it off with a lead, the Nats have a great chance to pull off the upset. San Diego's bullpen is slightly better, but don't be surprised if this is a game decided by a solo homer in the 8th. Game 6. Atlanta Braves vs New York Yankees. It's the Bronx, so home run potential is always in play. Yankee Stadium plays up to lefty power hitters and can punish mistakes, especially to right field. Forecast calls for temps in the high 80s with moderate humidity, conditions ripe for carry. It's hard to call a mid-July interleague game a measuring stick, but that's exactly what this matchup feels like. The Atlanta Braves and New York Yankees, both playoff contenders in their own right, enter this clash needing more than just a win. They need a statement. The Braves have not looked like themselves for weeks now. Their offense, once one of the most dangerous in baseball, has been inconsistent since Ronald Acuna Jr.'s season-ending injury. While Ozzie Albies, Matt Olson, and Austin Riley still bring power, there's been a noticeable drop in run-scoring efficiency and clutch hitting. Meanwhile, Charlie Morton has been the definition of reliable this year, not elite, but always competitive. With his curveball still among the most effective in the game, Morton thrives when he gets ahead. But against a patient Yankees lineup, getting those early strikes will be the key. On the other side, the Yankees are still holding strong atop the AL East but have been slightly vulnerable lately, especially against top-tier pitching. Nestor Cortes returns to the bump and brings with him a profile built for this park: excellent command, funky timing, and reverse splits that neutralize right-handed power bats. Cortes has kept the walks in check and rarely gives up barrels at home. His 2.35 ERA at Yankee Stadium is nearly a full run better than on the road. If his cutter is sharp and he can keep Olson and Riley off balance, he could turn this game into a surgical showcase. The defensive edge goes to Atlanta, particularly with their infield efficiency and catcher framing. But the Yankees have been quietly solid in the outfield with Trent Grisham and Aaron Judge providing range and arm strength. Expect this game to be tight. It's going to come down to bullpen execution. The Braves' pen has been slightly shakier in recent weeks, while the Yankees' backend, led by Clay Holmes and Tommy Kahnle, has looked locked in again. Best bets: under 8.5 runs -110. Both pitchers profile well in this park with swing and miss stuff, and both bullpens should hold serve unless overworked. Yankees' first 5 innings ML -115. Cortes has been lights out at home, and the Braves lineup has struggled early in games recently. Strikeout props: Charlie Morton over 5.5 kiloseconds. The Yankees rank 21st in strikeout rate against right-handed pitching over the last 30 days, and Morton still generates whiffs with that big hook. Nestor Cortes over 4.5 kiloseconds. This line is soft considering Cortes's home K splits and how often he can run counts full, allowing for put-away chances. Home run props: Aaron Judge. He's slugging over .700 in July and has crushed Morton historically, 3 hours in 12 career abs. With the short porch and right, he's always a threat. Matt Olson. Quiet lately, but Cortes's cutter can leak, and Olson has shown signs of waking up with 2 hours in his last 4 games. Total bases picks: Austin Riley over 1.5 total bases, hitting .342 over his last 10 games and has been heating up versus left-handed pitching. Gleyber Torres over 1.5 total bases, facing a righty that uses the curve often, a pitch Torres has hammered with 8.312 xBA and .568 SLG this season. Bonus bets: run line angles. Braves plus 1.5 -165. This could be a one-run game either way. Atlanta has been competitive even in losses and rarely gets blown out. Exact score prediction: 4-3 Yankees plus 950. A low-scoring tight battle with late drama is in the cards here. The Yankees' pen closes it out in the 9th. SGP parlay angle: FanDuel build. Yankees ML. Aaron Judge 1+ HR. Cortes 5+ Ks. Olson 1+ hit. Projected payout range: +950 to +1200 depending on the book. Final score prediction: Yankees 4, Braves 3. This feels like a classic Bronx chess match. Morton and Cortes duel for 5 innings, and the game hinges on bullpen reliability and one timely swing, likely from Judge or Olson. Expect playoff-level intensity with October vibes in July. Game 7, Cleveland Guardians vs. Oakland Athletics. The Coliseum is one of the most pitcher-friendly parks in baseball, with massive foul territory, marine layer air, and deep gaps that suppress offense significantly. Fly balls hang up longer, and it takes real power to leave the yard to center or opposite field. The Guardians are surging, and this matchup against a last-place Oakland team comes at the perfect time to keep momentum rolling. Cleveland enters this one with a clear advantage in both starting pitching and bullpen depth, but they'll need to remain disciplined at the plate against J.P. Sears, a lefty who can eat innings and induce soft contact when he's on. Sears has had flashes of brilliance this year but struggles to pitch deep into games without giving up the long ball. He's surrendered 1.7 HR/9 on the season and is particularly vulnerable to right-handed bats that stay back on his slower fastball. Tristan McKenzie takes the mound for Cleveland, and while his overall numbers look a bit inflated due to early season rust, his recent outings suggest he's found his rhythm. Over his last 3 starts, McKenzie has a 3.29 ERA and is averaging just under a strikeout per inning. His curveball is once again his most dangerous pitch, generating a 38% whiff rate and serving as a key weapon against Oakland's overaggressive lineup. The A's have one of the worst chase rates in the league and rank bottom 5 in OBP and slugging against right-handed pitching. Defensively, the Guardians continue to be elite. Their infield, anchored by Andrés Giménez and José Ramírez, converts ground balls into outs at an elite rate, and their outfield positioning has quietly become one of the most efficient in baseball thanks to better advanced scouting. On the flip side, Oakland's defense has been a liability, particularly in the corners, where misplays have turned singles into doubles and extended innings. Offensively, look for José Ramírez and Josh Naylor to do damage. Naylor, in particular, has been tearing up lefties this month, batting over .330 with an OPS above 1.000 since the All-Star break. Meanwhile, Bo Naylor is a sneaky source of power from the catcher position and could find himself in a prime RBI spot if Cleveland gets to Sears early. Oakland's lineup, however, continues to be patchwork at best. Brent Rooker remains the only true power threat, but without consistent table setters ahead of him, he's been pitching with empty bases far too often. Oakland's bullpen has been overworked and ineffective, ranking in the bottom 3 in ERA and HR9 over the last 30 days. Cleveland should be able to extend their lead late if they don't break it open early. Best bets: Cleveland Guardians moneyline playable to -160. Guardians first 5 innings -0.5. Total under 8.5 if line closes at that number or higher. Strikeout props: Tristan McKenzie over 5.5 strikeouts. Oakland leads the league in K% versus RHP since July 1, and McKenzie's curve should give them fits. Home run props: José Ramírez to hit a home run. Sears struggles with command on inner half pitches to righties, and Ramírez feasts on mistake fastballs. Bo Naylor long shot, great value in a lefty-lefty matchup where Naylor's power stroke matches well with Sears' high-spin fastball. Total bases picks: Josh Naylor over 1.5 total bases, hitting .370 vs left-handed pitching in July, and Oakland's bullpen only adds to his value late in the game. Andrés Giménez over 1.5 total bases, quietly hot with multiple multi-hit games this month, and he has the speed to turn singles into doubles. Bonus bets: run line angles. Cleveland -1.5 run line. With a bullpen edge and Sears unlikely to go deep, Guardians should cover this on the road. Guardians team total over 4.5. Oakland has allowed 5+ runs in 11 of their last 13 home games. SGP parlay, FanDuel or DraftKings. Guardians moneyline: José Ramírez to record a hit. Tristan McKenzie 6+ strikeouts. Josh Naylor over 1.5 total bases. Estimated payout range: +525 to +600 depending on odds timing. Final score prediction: Guardians 6, Athletics 2. Cleveland's bats should take care of business against a vulnerable Oakland staff. Expect a quality start from McKenzie, an early RBI double from Naylor, and late insurance runs as the A's bullpen falters. This is a game the Guardians should control from the second inning on. Game 8, New York Mets vs Cincinnati Reds. Citi Field trends neutral but slightly pitcher-friendly in colder months. July often adds a slight boost to offense, especially when humidity climbs. Wind is unlikely to play a major role, and dimensions limit cheap homers, rewarding true power hitters. The Mets and Reds square off in what is essentially a battle between two young teams trying to figure out their identities mid-season. New York's roster, bloated with veteran contracts, but sprinkled with young talent like Francisco Alvarez and Mark Vientos, has been treading water around .500. Cincinnati, meanwhile, is far younger, rawer, and far more aggressive on the base paths. They've been streaky this season but dangerous, and on the road they've often shown flashes of brilliance, especially when the bats come alive early. The starting pitching matchup in this one is as different as it gets. The Mets send out left-hander Jose Quintana, a veteran arm known for his soft contact-inducing approach, while the Reds counter with flamethrower Hunter Greene, who's returned from the ill and is flashing triple-digit heat. Quintana relies on pitchability, working both sides of the plate and changing eye levels, but he's been hit hard when leaving balls over the middle. His 2025 season has been defined by short outings. He's rarely making it past the fifth inning and often pitches under traffic. Greene is the X factor. His fastball routinely touches 98 to 100 mph, but his true weapon is the slider, which induces over a 40% whiff rate when he locates it down and away. The issue for Greene has always been command, not stuff. He tends to run deep counts, leading to high pitch counts early, and if the Mets' more patient hitters like Nimmo and McNeil can force him into long innings, that opens the door for a shaky Reds bullpen to be exposed. On the offensive end, Cincinnati's right-handed power bats like Spencer Steer and Elly De La Cruz could feast on Quintana, especially if he struggles with location early. De La Cruz has been heating up over the past week, and his home run power is matched by lightning speed, making him a double threat to create runs out of nowhere. The Reds will look to run aggressively, particularly if Alvarez is behind the plate, as the Mets' catching core has struggled to control the running game. The Mets will be relying heavily on Pete Alonso, who's been swinging a hot bat this month. Against high-velocity pitchers like Greene, Alonso tends to shorten his swing early in the count and go to the opposite field. If he's locked in, the Mets can create crooked innings in a hurry. Also keep an eye on Starling Marte's matchup against Greene. He's one of the few Mets hitters who's seen triple-digit velocity consistently and had success. One key tactical edge in this game comes from the Mets bullpen. Edwin Diaz has returned to form, and both Adam Ottavino and Reed Garrett have been effective in late innings, especially against right-heavy lineups. The Reds, meanwhile, have blown more saves than any other NL Central team this season, and they lack a true shutdown closer. If this is close heading into the seventh, the Mets hold a significant edge. Best bets. First 5 innings over 4.5 runs. With Greene's high pitch count potential and Quintana's vulnerability to right-handed bats, there's value in early scoring. Full game over 8.5 runs. Both teams have shown inconsistency in relief pitching and the power bats are waking up. Mets team total over 4.5. Greene may not go deep, and the Mets power plays well in Citi Field during July. Strikeout props. Hunter Greene over 7.5 kiloseconds. The Mets are a patient team, but Greene's stuff is so electric that if he finds the zone early, he could rack up punchouts. Fast. Jose Quintana under 4.5 kiloseconds. The Reds are aggressive, and Quintana has not been missing many bats in 2025. Home run props. Pete Alonso to hit a hour. He's historically strong against high-velocity pitchers, and Greene's fastball, if left up, can leave the park quickly. Elly De La Cruz to hit a hour. A true wild card, but De La Cruz's recent form and his matchup against a soft-throwing lefty give this long shot real upside. Total bases picks. Francisco Lindor over 1.5 total bases. Switch-hitting Lindor gets a platoon edge and has been driving the ball well from the right side. Spencer Steer over 1.5 total bases. Great value if batting cleanup, with real gap power against left-handed pitching. Run line angles. Mets minus 1.5 plus 145, a juicy price if Greene leaves early and the bullpen folds. Reds plus 1.5 minus 130, if Greene pitches 6+ innings, the Reds can absolutely keep it close or steal it late. Same game parlay SGP picks. Mets ML plus Pete Alonso hour plus over 8.5 total runs pays around plus 950. Reds ML plus Elly De La Cruz hour plus both teams to score 4+ runs pays around plus 1050. Final score prediction. Mets 6, Reds 4. New York outlasts Greene's early heat, scrapes across a couple of runs in the middle innings, and takes advantage of the Reds bullpen for a crucial win at home. Game 9, Miami Marlins vs. Kansas City Royals. The Miami Marlins arrive in Kansas City in a state of flux. Their roster has undergone shakeups, their rotation has been a revolving door due to injuries, and their lineup has lacked punch since the All-Star break. On the other hand, the Royals are trying to make a strong second-half statement, particularly at home where their offense has looked rejuvenated and their pitching has been competitive. This game offers more betting value than meets the eye because both starting pitchers present exploitable trends in opposite directions. For Miami, Roddery Munoz steps in with very limited MLB experience. The 24-year-old righty was called up to provide innings during a brutal injury stretch in Miami's staff, and his numbers have been volatile to say the least. Through 4 MLB starts, Munoz has a bloated ERA near 7.00. And it's not just bad luck, he's walking over 10% of batters and allowing hard contact nearly 50% of the time. His fastball velocity is enticing at 95 to 96 mph, but he lacks command of his secondary pitches, and his changeup has been especially hittable. Against a contact-heavy, aggressive Royals offense, this is a matchup where he could be overwhelmed early. Kansas City's lineup has thrived in home games, particularly when facing inconsistent pitching. Bobby Witt Jr. is quietly putting together a top-5 MVP campaign, while Vinny Pasquantino and Salvador Perez remain matchup nightmares for right-handers without wipeout secondary stuff. KC's patient but aggressive blend works perfectly against pitchers like Munoz who fall behind in counts and leave too many pitches in the zone. Kansas City ranks in the top 10 in MLB in first pitch swing percentage and slugging on 1-0 and 2-1 counts, numbers that bode well against a starter who struggles to get ahead. Alec Marsh takes the mound for the Royals and is an interesting case. He's not a flamethrower, but he's carved out a role as a reliable 5-inning pitcher who limits damage. His ERA sits just below 4.00 across his last 5 starts, and he's started throwing his curveball more than 30% of the time with surprisingly good results. His biggest weakness? Left-handed power, as he allows 8.290 average and 8.470 SLG to lefty bats. Unfortunately for the Marlins, they're not constructed to take advantage of that. Jazz Chisholm Jr. is their only consistent left-handed power source, and he's been inconsistent lately, batting just .212 in his last 15 games with a 31% strikeout rate. This matchup leans heavily in the Royals' favor from a tactical standpoint. Marsh should be able to pitch to weak contact against a Marlins lineup that ranks in the bottom 5 in MLB in runs, slugging, and isolated power on the road. Munoz, on the other hand, could be exposed early, especially against Kansas City's surging top 5 hitters, who've all posted ops numbers north of .750 in July. Don't underestimate how much momentum and matchups matter when betting a game that looks otherwise bland on paper. This is a clear spot to back the better team at home. Best bets. Royals moneyline up to -135. Alec Marsh has shown consistency, and the Royals lineup should exploit Munoz's weak command. Royals first 5 innings -0.5, with a struggling Miami starter and KC's tendency to strike early at home, this is an edge. Game total over 9. Munoz alone could give up 4+ runs in his first 3 innings, and the Miami bullpen is stretched thin. Strikeout props. Alec Marsh over 4.5 kiloseconds. The Marlins strike out over 25% of the time against right-handers, especially on the road. Munoz under 4.5 kiloseconds. KC is among the lowest strikeout teams in the league, especially versus fastball-first pitchers. Home run props. Bobby Witt Jr., he's been scorching hot at home and feasts on high-velocity fastballs without movement. Salvador Perez, look for his power to re-emerge against an inexperienced righty who's been leaving balls over the plate. Total bases picks. Bobby Witt Jr., over 1.5 total bases, great splits against righties and thriving at home. Michael Garcia over 1.5 total bases, quietly hitting .311 in his last 10 games and makes consistent hard contact. Bonus bets run line angles. Royals minus 1.5 plus 145 range. If Munoz melts down early, this has blowout potential. Alternate total over 10.5 plus 125 if you want to juice value, especially in same-game parlay constructions. SGP parlay idea, FanDuel or DK build. Royals moneyline. Bobby Witt Jr. 2+ total bases. Alec Marsh 5+ strikeouts. Game over 8.5. Projected payout. Plus 525 to plus 600 range, varies by book and boost availability. Final score prediction. Royals 7, Marlins 3. The Royals are just a better team right now. They have the hitting advantage, a better bullpen, and a starting pitcher who's trending the right way. Miami's issues, rotation depth, offensive inconsistency, and overuse of relievers, make this a matchup where the Royals should control from start to finish. Witt and Pasquantino could both do damage, and the Marlins simply don't have enough power to mount a comeback if they fall behind early. This is a sharp angle game with clean value on Kansas City across multiple markets. Game 10, Chicago Cubs vs Boston Red Sox. Probable pitchers. Garrett Crochet, CHC, LHP, 10-4, 2.39 ERA, 151K vs Brian Bello, BOS, RHP, 5-3, approximately 3.27 ERA, 65K. Forecast calls for a mild 70s day with light winds blowing out towards right field at about 9 to 11 mph and a 14 to 19% chance of rain. Wrigley plays fair to hitters on warm days with wind at the batter's back, but the cool air and roofless day game limit carry for most fly balls. This Sunday showdown drops into that rare early afternoon Wrigley window, where weather and timing shape strategy. It's Garrett Crochet, the Cubs' fireballing lefty, taking the mound with 10 wins and an impressive 2.39 ERA. Despite a career of inconsistency, Crochet has embraced his identity this summer. He pitches up, pounds the zone, and lives or dies by the 98 to 100 mph fastball and sinking sweeper changeup. When he's on, he induces weak contact and high strikeouts. When he misses, he gets blasted, especially by left-handed power bats capable of getting under the ball in this wind lane. On the other side stands Brian Bello, Boston's young righty who's quietly carved out a solid season with a 5-3 record and an ERA in the low threes. Bello counters with conventionality, fastballs in the low 90s paired with a heavy curve and tight cutter. He's not overpowering but sharp, with a 30% whiff rate on his breaking stuff over the past month. His biggest strength, control. He rarely misses, and he suppresses hard contact by inducing soft, ground ball outs. That will be crucial in Wrigley's big infield environment. Neither offense is elite, but each has its breakdowns. The Cubs' corner bats have power. Nico Horner, Seiya Suzuki, and Christopher Morel can all drive the ball in the wind lane. But the lineup is stingy on free passes and overly reliant on homers. Singles and doubles vanish in Wrigley's uneven ivy walls and cozy gaps. For Boston, Xander Bogaerts and Rafael Devers have been quiet this month, but they're both capable of game-changing moments. The rest of the lineup is contact-oriented, patient, and disciplined, the kind that wears down pitchers who live up in the zone. Crochet's fastballs travel straight and hard, and when he leaves one elevated, it can leave the yard, especially in this wind environment. The Red Sox have power and discipline to exploit any mistake lefty. But the question, can they lay off the heater or will they chase? If they hunt early changeups off the plate, this becomes a mess for them. Bello, in contrast, plays chess. He never misses by much. When Crochet's fastball is riding, he'll chase. When it isn't, he'll grind. If this game turns into a representative battle, the Red Sox get ground balls and weak contact that eats innings in Wrigley's big, slow turf. The bullpens are a key consideration. Chicago's relief unit is healthy and versatile, capable of navigating high-leverage jams, especially since they've been fresh lately. Boston's pen, while deeper, has had shaky outings in late-game scenarios. If Crochet gives up a run or two and the game turns into a pitcher's duel, the Cubs may hold the edge late. Best bets. Under 8.0 runs, both starters profile for pitch limits and low HR risk in these conditions. Boston first 5 innings moneyline -125 to -130. Bellows' command and soft contact profile give him the edge early, before wind becomes a factor. Strikeout props. Garrett Crochet over 5.5 strikeouts. He's reached 6 or more in 6 of his last 8 outings, and Boston racks up whiffs on elevated four-seamers. Brian Bello under 4.5 strikeouts. Bello pitches to contact and only surpassed this number twice in 12 starts. Home run props. Xander Bogaerts to hit a home run. Left-handed power bat with history versus hard lefties, wind offers carry. Christopher Morel to hit a home run. He feasts on mistakes up and in, and Wrigley favors that kind of contact when the wind blows. Total bases picks. Seiya Suzuki over 1.5 total bases, quietly disciplined and rides fastballs well, his gap-to-gap ability fits this park. Rafael Devers over 1.5 total bases, he hits lefties with authority, and any mistake in the zone could generate power. Bonus bets run line angles. Boston plus 1.5 run line, if it closes anywhere near plus 125, this is an easy fade play on Cake's night. Cubs minus 1.5 at plus 150 or better, risky, but if Crochet is locked, he can hand it off with multiple runs of support from a wind-aided inning. Same game parlay SGP ideas. Boston F5 moneyline plus Bogaerts to record a hit plus under 8 runs, clean, correlated, early game combo plus 275 range. Cubs ML plus Morel hour plus over 7.5 runs, if Crochet leaves gas in the tank and the wind blows at the end plus 350 plus. Final score prediction. Red Sox 4, Cubs 3. This shapes up as a tight game with minimal offense. Bello holds serve through 5, allowing only 1 run. Chicago puts up 2 but can't break late. Even with Gaga's return, the Bulldogs strike early, control matchups, and take advantage of wind-aided power. Late-inning Cubs rally falls just short. Game 11 Twins vs Rockies. It's a tale of two teams living very different realities as the Colorado Rockies make their way to Target Field to face the Minnesota Twins in what should be a telling midseason matchup. The Rockies, mired in the depths of the NL West, have become more of a spoiler team than a serious competitor. Their season has been marred by injuries, inconsistency, and a pitching staff that routinely gives up explosive innings. On the other side of the diamond, the Minnesota Twins are still in the thick of the AL Central race. With the Guardians keeping pressure atop the standings, every game is critical, especially against a non-contender like Colorado. And that desperation might show in how the Twins attack early and often in this one. The probable pitching matchup is particularly intriguing. Minnesota rolls with the experienced Joe Ryan, while the Rockies counter with left-hander Austin Gomer. Ryan has been one of Minnesota's most dependable arms all season, thanks to a 3.47 ERA, a whip under 1.10, and the ability to command all quadrants of the zone with his fastball and splitter combo. His strikeout rate hovers above 25%, and against a Rockies team that struggles heavily on the road, especially against righties, Ryan should be able to rack up Ks. He's dominant at home too, boasting 8.202 opponent batting average and an xFIP that suggests he's been even better than the surface stats imply. Gomer, meanwhile, has quietly improved in recent months. After a brutal April, he's posted a 3.82 ERA since June 1. But his biggest issue remains the long ball. He's already surrendered 19 homers this season, and facing a power-laden Minnesota lineup in a hitter-friendly ballpark could be disastrous. The Twins' offense has been quietly resurgent in July. Carlos Correa is finally heating up after a sluggish start, and rookie Brooks Lee has been making serious noise at the plate. Willie Castro continues to be a sneaky on-base machine, and with Royce Lewis back in the lineup, this team is suddenly stacked with hitters who can mash lefties. Against Gomer, who has a career .282 BAA versus right-handed hitters, the Twins could stack the lineup with righties and look to jump on early mistakes. Expect aggressive swings on first-pitch fastballs and sliders that hang over the middle of the plate. As for Colorado, their road woes are well documented. They're averaging under 3.5 runs per game on the road this year, and that number drops even further when facing playoff contending pitching. Their biggest weapon, Ryan McMahon, is hitting just .227 outside Coors Field, and the supporting cast of Tovar, Doyle, and Montero has been largely ineffective in hostile parks. Combine that with the fact that Minnesota's bullpen, led by Joan Duran and Griffin Jax, has been top 5 in WAR and WHIP since June, and the late innings could be a nightmare for Colorado. The game script favors Minnesota dominating early through power and plate discipline, and shutting the door late with elite high-leverage arms. From a betting perspective, this game presents multiple angles. The Twins' run line opens around -1.5 plus 105, and given the splits, matchup, and bullpen advantage, that number feels soft. The Rockies are 14-31 straight up on the road this year and have failed to cover the run line in 23 of those 31 losses. Meanwhile, the Twins are 10-4 ATS in their last 14 home games against sub-.500 teams. The total will likely close around 8.5, but sharp action has already nudged it slightly upward from the opener, likely anticipating early fireworks from the Minnesota bats against Gomer. Strikeout prop bettors should circle Joe Ryan's line, likely to be set around 6.5. That's a smoshable over given the Rockies' 26.8% K rate on the road this season and their dreadful contact metrics against fastball-heavy righties. Ryan has hit 7+ strikeouts in 5 of his last 7 home starts, and Colorado might be the worst K-prone team he's seen yet. If the Twins allow him to go 6 innings, 9+ strikeouts isn't out of the question. For home run props, Royce Lewis is a name to target. He's quietly become one of the best lefty mashers in the league with 8.620 SLG against southpaws. Gomer's HR9 rate against right-handers is nearly 2.0, and with Lewis projected to bat cleanup, he'll see plenty of fastballs in prime damage counts. Carlos Correa is another longshot worth exploring. He's seeing the ball better and has always had a knack for punishing below-average lefties. Expect both to be +400 or better for a homer. Total bases picks. Royce Lewis over 1.5 and Correa over 1.5 stand out. If you're looking for a plus money hit parlay, try Lewis plus Correa plus Lee, all hitting in the top half of the lineup and all historically strong against lefties. Don't overlook a potential player performance double either. Joe Ryan 7+ Ks and Twins to win could be priced between +150 to +180 depending on the book, offering solid correlated value. SGP same game parlay fans could build a strong, low-risk ticket with the following core: Twins ML, Joe Ryan 6+ strikeouts, Royce Lewis 1+ hit, and under 5.5 Rockies total runs. That should land you around +270 odds with low exposure. If you want to juice it, add a Royce Lewis homer or Ryan 8+ Ks and that parlay could reach +650 range. Final score prediction. The Twins start fast and don't look back. Gomer gives up 3 in the first 3 innings, and Minnesota tacks on a few more late with the bullpen extending the lead. Joe Ryan delivers a dominant 6-inning, 9-strikeout performance before handing it off to the shutdown unit. Rockies might scratch out a run or 2 late, but it won't be close. Final score: Twins 6, Rockies 2. Game 12 Diamondbacks vs Cardinals. The Arizona Diamondbacks, fresh off dealing Corbin Burnes in early June and rolling with a youthful, attack-minded rotation, travel to Chase Field to face the St. Louis Cardinals. Despite their sub-.500 record, 48-50, the D-backs have shown flashes, carrying the high-energy swing-and-miss approach that fits Coors Free Parks. Street. Lewis, at 51-47, has leaned heavily on veteran consistency and power spotting, but their pitching has stumbled noise in recent weeks. The backdrop is a marquee pitching showdown between Merrill Kelly, Arizona's durable righty whose 8-5, 3.34 season line reflects trusted performance, and Miles Mikolas, Street. Lewis's veteran righty who's struggling closer to a 5-6, 4.94 record and 1.29 whip. This matters. Kelly brings control, width, and efficiency. Mikolas is high volume but vulnerable to barrels. Chase Field, with its humidor-controlled dome, isn't a launchpad, but Arizona's approach counters that. They've blasted 10 home runs in their last 10 games and slugged .412 over that span. They've leaned into Ryan Nelson, Corbin Carroll, and Geraldo Perdomo, mixing power, speed, and patient strike zones. Nelson's 7-2, 3.68 performance isn't just luck. He's developing consistent two-seamer command that limits barrels, a skill that helps absorb mistakes. Meanwhile, the Cardinals have relied more on depth and veteran savvy. Wilson Contreras, Eugenio Suarez, Nolan Gorman back from ill, and Lars Nootbaar provide power but see inconsistent results outside tight footing. Their top prospect pipeline is lean, pushing veterans like Mikolas deeper into starts. To break it down, Merrill Kelly has been Arizona's most reliable arm. His ability to mix a lethal curve with a heavy sinker keeps line drives in check, and his 113 strikeouts over 116 innings show consistent with opportunity. His whip of just over 1.0 is tied to a strong ground ball profile. He neutralizes Cardinal hitters like Paul Goldschmidt and Nolan Arenado, especially on off-speed weapons low in the zone. In contrast, Mikolas survives on finesse, locating to contact left his ERA near 5.00 and whip near 1.30. He relies on a four-seamer and curve, but high hard contact rates and low strikeout upside make him exploitable, particularly if Kelly can settle down quickly. Recent trends matter too. Cardinals pitchers have delivered a bloated 5.90 ERA over their last 10 games, allowing 19 home runs. That's an opening for Arizona's always swinging approach. Conversely, Arizona starters have posted a 3.45 ERA over the past 10 games, biting into their underdog narrative and increasing value when they face teams relying on veteran moxie at home. Offensively, Arizona's lineup thrives on attacking early. Batters like Carroll and Naylor consistently swing early in the count, generating powerful contact or forcing defenders to get aggressive. They've averaged 7.7 hits per contest over their last 10 games. The Cardinals, while more patient, rely on situational hitting and veteran discipline. Contreras and Suarez bring big mash capability, but their success depends on mistakes, which Kelly rarely serves. Mikolas may survive on veteran instincts, but in modern analytics, that edge is eroding. Bullpen depth is another separator. Arizona's relief mix, featuring closer Brandon Pfaadt and high-leverage arms like Jalen Beeks, has stabilized. They've outperformed expectation while Street. Lewis's pen has struggled to maintain leads when Mikolas exits early. Expect pressure in the sixth inning turn for the Cardinals. The strategic axes: Arizona will apply pressure early, ready to chase a lead through Kelly's 5 to 6 strong innings, then let the relief crew grind out low-leverage outs. Street. Lewis must hope Mikolas lands in the zone for 6+, avoids homers, and lets their offense muster an edge in mid-game. That puts the Diamondbacks in prime position. From a betting perspective, Arizona's moneyline at around +100, or better if underdog, is a high-value play. Kelly's home form and the Cardinals' recent slip away from veteran dominance offer significant edge. First 5 innings tilt that way as well. Arizona F5 mega leaders under +120 looks gold. The full game over/under 8.5 might skew low for Coors standards, but expect action leaning over 8 if Kelly falters late and Mikolas lets one fly. So the best hedge, under 9 runs if Kelly goes 6+, with over available if blowout becomes likely. Strikeout props: Kelly over 6.5 kiloseconds is a strong bet. Arizona offense whiffs often and Kelly faces a contact-heavy street. Lewis lineup. Michaelis under 5.5 kiloseconds is also appealing, given his lack of swing and miss and reliance on crafty contact. Power props to watch. Contreras to homer plus 450 is viable if Kelly misses elevation, but high value lies in Risotto or Naylor from Arizona. High probability picks at plus 600 if Michaelis leaves a mistake up early. Total bases. Josh Rojas as over 1.5 terabytes is impressive against Michaelis if he earns early abs. On St. Louis side, Nolan Arenado over 1.5 terabytes has value if Kelly lapses early. Bonus angle. Alternate line Arizona minus 1.5 at plus 160 provides interesting juice if Kelly settles deep and the bullpen holds. Race to 3 runs. Diamondbacks plus 140 is another angle if Kelly gives a quality start. SGP, a smart same-game parlay includes Arizona ML plus Kelly over 6.5 kiloseconds plus over 8.5 runs, payout in plus 450 to plus 500. Add Contreras HR at higher juice for a riskier plus 900 plus package. Final score prediction, Arizona 5. Street. Lewis 3. Kelly pitches 6 innings with 8 punchouts. Arizona strikes early with solo homers from Naylor and Carroll. Michaelis wobbles in the 4th, and even though Cardinals scratch a couple late, Arizona relief shuts the door. Game 13 Dodgers vs. Brewers. The Dodgers and Brewers close out Sunday's MLB action in a pivotal NL West Central showdown at Dodger Stadium, air-conditioned and ready for showdown baseball. On the mound, 2 crafty southpaws take the bump, Clayton Kershaw for the Dodgers and Jose Quintana for Milwaukee, each bringing veteran savvy and playoff-level poise to a game with clear postseason reverberations. Kershaw, entering his 18th season, remains the Dodgers' most reliable postseason arm despite reduced velocity. With a 3.38 ERA and 1.24 WHIP, he's exhibited vintage pinpoint command at home, recently recording his 3,000th career strikeout, and he thrives on mixing his high 90s fastball, curve, and feel-good changeup. Although the velocity has dipped off recent highs, Kershaw's ability to live the zone and frustrate hitters remains elite. At Dodger Stadium, he's posted a 2.35 ERA this season, keeping contact soft and minimizing the weaknesses that younger bullpens might punish. Quintana counters with a veteran lefty profile of his own, soft tossing, contact-inducing, and surprisingly consistent for a 36-year-old. The Brewers have leaned on him heavily in clutch games this season, and he's responded with a 6-3 record, 3.28 ERA, and 1.36 WHIP over 71 innings. His ability to keep the ball on the ground and limit long balls has made him a strong road starter. Dodger Stadium, known for its cavernous foul territory and power-neutral right field, presents a subtle advantage for pitchers, especially lefties. With temps in the upper 70s and negligible wind, conditions may steer this toward a classic duel. The under 8.5 is drinkable from the jump, given how both teams project to stay under the radar offensively. Offensively, both lineups are built for contact. The Dodgers rely on sequencing patience to win their at-bats. Freddie Freeman, Mookie Betts, and Max Muncy don't hit many screamers but can soften the apex of a lineup with doubles, walks, and situational execution. Milwaukee counters with Christian Yelich, still swinging in above -.800 ops, and Sal Frelick out-injured, leaving the likes of Rhys Hoskins and one-year wonders carrying less consistent impact. The Brewers' lefty-heavy power core plays better away from Miller Park, but their K rate remains a concern, especially against pitching that avoids pitches up in the zone. Bullpen depth may decide late innings. The Dodgers have reinforcements in Snell and Gratterall on light workload rehab, but the home pen, led by Edwin Diaz, is fresh and capable. Milwaukee leaned heavily on Freddie Peralta's big arm earlier in the year but has also benefited from a late-blooming bullpen. The key difference, Recent Brewers' relief era has climbed above 4.00, while LA's is trending under 3.50. Betting angles crystallize around pace and strikeout edge. The under is a playable full-game angle, both sides suppress elevated expectations. First 5 innings lean toward Dodgers ML. Kershaw is sharper, and the Brewers chase early fastballs more often than his curve-laden arsenal invites. Expect a lean toward Dodgers -105 to -115. Strikeout props have rich value. Kershaw should land north of 6.5 strikeouts. His start against the Rockies saw 8 kiloseconds in 6 innings. Quintana can stay under the 5.5 K line. This Milwaukee lineup is disciplined and anemic in punch-outs. Home run props feel like a soft market. Mookie Betts remains the best candidate. His stroke rides comfortably in this park, and he's seeing the ball better after returning from ill. Rhys Hoskins is the value play for Milwaukee, especially on mistakes up early against Southpaws, but his availability hinges on health status. Total bases angle. Freeman over 1.5 terabytes is appealing. He consistently and quietly racks up line drive run productivity. Brewers side, look to Yelich for over 1.5 terabytes, especially if he sees the ball hot early. Bonus run line play. Dodgers -1.5 shows value if Kershaw cruises into the 6th and the pen holds. Conversely, Brewers +1.5 is a gentler approach for coverage if Quintana outduels expectations. SGP angle. Dodgers ML plus over 6.5 K by Kershaw plus Freeman 1 plus hit, clean, correlated, and in the +350 range. Final projection. Dodgers 4, Brewers 2. Kershaw navigates 6 innings, peppering change-ups down the zone. Quintana holds steady through 5 but surrenders a couple of runs to patience-built Dodgers scoring. Late bullpen work closes the door, preserving a tough home win. Game 14, Seattle Mariners vs Houston Astros. Probable pitchers. Logan Gilbert C vs Jose Urquidy HOU. Minute Maid Park is hitter-friendly, especially down the left field line and in center when the domed roof is open on humidity-neutral nights. Expect temperatures near 77 degrees Fahrenheit with low humidity evening conditions. The Astros have kept the roof closed for most day games, opening it only for late-night doubleheaders, so this should be a calm, controlled environment with carry potential for balls left up. Seattle heads south on a West Coast trip and will converge on Houston in need of a pickup game to keep pace in the competitive wild-card chase. The Mariners rely on an elite rotation, and tonight's starter, Logan Gilbert, is close to cementing himself as a near frontline arm. He enters Sunday evening with a 7-4 record and a 3.15 ERA across 105 innings, paired with a 1.05 whip and a 10.5 strikeouts per 9 rate. Gilbert has leaned heavily on his fastball changeup combo at home, but he's been working his cutter and curve more on the road in July with success, inducing a 32% chase rate outside the strike zone. Against Houston, an offense built on power from both sides but prone to long at-bats, Gilbert's ability to move the zone could be one of the most overlooked factors as he battles an offense with plenty of red flags themselves. The Astros counter with Jose Urquidy, whose 2025 campaign feels like a tale of two halves. In the first half, he had an ERA north of 4 as he struggled with hard contact and issues in the zone. Since the All-Star break, however, he has been on a heater, posting a 2.85 ERA, cutting his walk rate nearly in half, and pitching at least 6 innings with quality in each of his last 3 starts. He's continued to command his changeup and curve, working in more strikes with better pacing. But Urquidy has struggled with right-handed power. Against that group, he's allowed 8.425 slugging percentage and has given up 7 home runs in limited innings. Between Gilbert's ability to attack with both fastball and cutter away from righties and Seattle's righty-heavy lineup loaded with exit velocity at home, there's a clear advantage disguised under Houston's name-brand reputation. Offensively, the Mariners have been power-light but contact-rich. Julio Rodriguez is heating up again after a cold spell, clubbing 4 long balls in his last 10 games and looking comfortable in 2-strike counts. Mitch Haniger's multi-year limit to homers is a counterbalance when the fastball sits near the zone, and Ty France's patient approach could force Urquidy into deeper counts, something he's started to struggle with in July, as his second-half era indicates. Houston's offense, meanwhile, lives and dies by homers. Yordan Alvarez, Alex Bregman, and Jose Altuve combined for nearly 25% of Houston's run production on their own, but the lineup outside of them has been pedestrian. The Astros rank bottom 5 in runs per game over the last 2 weeks, and their walk rate has dropped as Urquidy's pacing has shifted, likely because he's eating more pitches and draining his fastball effectiveness late in counts. If Urquidy can't limit hard contact early or avoid ringing Gilberto, early damage could compound. Houston's depth is thin, with a bench full of youngsters and minor league retreads with minimal major league power. Another key variable is bullpen depth. Seattle has quietly caught fire since the break, with their late-inning arms, Paul Sewald, Matt Brash, and Andres Munoz, posting a combined 2.85 ERA and striking out more than 28% of opposing batters. That matches well in a park where one mistake can land in the stands. Houston's pen, however, has been banged up and patched with several up-and-down arms. They've allowed 8.340 average and 1.31 whip in non-save situations, ranking bottom 10 in the league since July 1. If this is close after 6, the advantage is clearly in Seattle's pocket. From a matchup standpoint, this game plays like a pitcher's duel could quickly turn into late-inning firepower. Gilbert can dominate early, but the roof-open flexibility and carry-friendly environment amplify mistakes. 2 or 3 loud swings could shift momentum. Seattle can match counter with runners in scoring position, steals, and situational small ball, which we've seen beat Houston in similar setups this season. The real question is whether Urquidy has enough elevation control to prevent left field dents late. Best bets. Mariners moneyline -115 to -120, especially if Urquidy's second half number fails to hold. First 5 innings over 4.5 runs. Both starters have shown early vulnerability before settling in. This prop isolates the volatility. Strikeout props. Logan Gilbert over 6.5 strikeouts. He's bumped into 7 or more in 5 of his last 8 starts. Jose Urquidy under 5.5 strikeouts. Houston's lineup is strikeout heavy recently but also fills the zone, reducing upside. Home run props. Julio Rodriguez to hit a home run. Carry-friendly park on mid-season power surge, and Urquidy is vulnerable to mistakes elevated into left. Yordan Alvarez to hit a home run. Value upside. If Gilbert misses with cutter up, Alvarez has the strength to make you pay. Total bases picks. Mitch Haniger over 1.5 total bases. His fastball approach aligns with Urquidy's vulnerably pitched innings. Jose Altuve over 1.5 total bases. A savvy hitter who plays well in Minute Maid's short porch when fastballs hang. Bonus bets run line angles. Mariners -1.5 run line +150 with bullpen edge and Gilbert's mid-game control. This could be a standout payoff. Race to 3 connectors. Mariners +145. If airtime charges early, Seattle could take the lead before Houston settles. Same game parlay SGP. Mariners ML plus Rodriguez hour plus Gilbert over 6.5 kiloseconds plus over 4.5 first 5. Balanced, correlated build with a +475 to +550 payout range. Final score prediction. Mariners 4, Astros 3. Logan Gilbert cruises through 6 innings with 7 strikeouts. Seattle jumps on Urquidy early with Rodriguez and Haniger homers. Houston answers with a late lone run, but Seattle's pen locks it down. The game closes as a tight, emotionally charged statement road win for the division chase. Game 15 Rangers vs Tigers. The Texas Rangers finish off a pivotal day at Comerica Park in Detroit facing a Tigers team that has quietly improved in July, reducing walk rates, getting younger arms into the rotation, and starting to pressure their AL Central rivals. Meanwhile, the Rangers are locked into two division races, with the AL West and wild card both within reach. Tonight's starting pitching matchup sets the tone. Nathan Eovaldi, a veteran with nasty fastball curve mix for Texas, takes the mound against Tarik Skubal, Detroit's lefty ace who owns electric stuff but is streaky and vulnerable early. This clash has playoff energy, but it may also carry hidden edges for bettors who know where to isolate volatility. Eovaldi has been Texas's go-to high-leverage starter since joining via trade earlier this month. His late-night, big-inning pedigree now blends with Comerica Park's short right field porch and fast infield turf. In July, he's posted a 3.10 ERA and lowered his walk rate to 6.2%, his best month of the season. He pounds the zone with a two-seamer that cuts into lefties and a curve that generates a 39% chase rate outside the strike zone. His strikeout rate per 9 sits around 11.5, and he's averaging 5.8 innings per outing, solid depth for a road pitcher. Against Detroit's new lineup composition, he's got clear upside. The Tigers have trimmed chase-heavy aggressiveness, cut strikeouts by 7% on 2-strike counts, and are making minor contact gains, but Eovaldi's ability to stomp the zone early gives him early control. He's ruthless when ahead. Detroit's Tarik Skubal is a polar opposite. High variance, huge upside, but command wobbles and a steep home park uphill. His ERA since the break sits near 4.80, and while he punches out 12.2 per 9, he walks 4.1, which has cost him several starts. His slider and curve are devastating, but his fastball command is a concern. He misses higher arm slot and leaves meatballs when cranked up in the zone. Against the Rangers, who swing early in counts but aren't chase-heavy, he may generate K-stuffed spurts, but when he misses, an above-average offense can capitalize quickly, aided by right field carry off the porch. Skubal's profile screams bust or boom. If he's off, Texas has the goods to pounce fast. Offensively, Texas leans middle of the order heavy with Adolis Garcia, Corey Seager, and Nathaniel Lowe capable of getting to any fastball they see. Seager, in particular, has been in a rhythm, 15 multi-hit games since the break and batting .311 within .875 ops. Against LHP, he's crushing pitches down and in, exactly the zone Eovaldi targets. The rest of the lineup is opportunistic. Josh Jung and Marcus Semien can each stray above .250 with gap power when they're locked in. Detroit's bullpen is the flip side, shaky at best. Closer Alex Lang has struggled late, while the Tigers lack a shutdown late-inning weapon outside Matthew Boyd's return game. If Texas gets a lead, even by 2 runs, the Rangers' power-centric top 6 backed by Eovaldi may hold firm. Detroit relies heavily on their new prescription of youth and speed. Riley Green and Spencer Torkelson lead a group that includes Robert Hassel and Kerry Carpenter. The push is for hard contact and steals over walks. They're getting more aggressive on 1-0 and 2-0 counts, but that comes with elevated risk against a veteran fireballer who induces early swings. Offense taps into aggressiveness but may be limited if Tanner all-star pitchers fluster them early. This spot is nuanced. Both starters offer upside, both bullpens want work, and lineups align for scorch or drought. The hidden value lies in the early frames. If Skubal struggles with mechanics in the first 2 innings, Texas can have a lead that sticks. If Eovaldi commands the zone early, Detroit may manage 1 or 2 runs but won't walk through the door. Best bets include, first 5 innings, Rangers moneyline -130 to -140, a strong edge if Texas attacks early, especially since Skubal's ERA in the first 3 innings of home starts is over 7.00 this month. Another angle is, under 9 total runs, a veteran duel with quality arms and power-backed restraint on shallow power areas. Strikeout props are intriguing. Eovaldi over 5.5 kiloseconds is viable. Detroit whiffs 24% against righties this month, especially on two-seam fastballs. Skubal over 6.5 kiloseconds has potential in crisis mode if he stays on the edges. His upside bat misser rate is enormous. Run line thinking. Rangers minus 1.5 plus 160 is worth a small bet if you forecast a sharp Eovaldi and early scoring. Tigers plus 1.5 minus 150 is better for late comeback action if Skubal hits his stride. Home run props include Adolis Garcia to go yard. He's slugging .650 versus lefties this year when seeing four-seam fastballs up in the zone. On Detroit's side, Riley Green plus 500 to plus 600 range makes sense if he's seeing it early. He's battling back from a slump and comfortable tagging heaters, especially at home. Total bases picks. Corey Seager over 1.5 terabytes is strong value plus 140. Sabermetrically, he's hitting .350 on fastballs off the plate inside this month. Detroit side, Spencer Torkelson over 1.5 terabytes is good for fade if Skubal gets into chase mode. He'll drive mistakes. SGP option. Texas moneyline plus Eovaldi over 5.5 kiloseconds plus Seager 1 plus base plus Greenhour plus 500 to plus 625. Balanced with early stupidity tapped in and high leverage production needed. Expect a tight, tense 1-0 or 2-1 game for 5 innings with power flickers thereafter. Final score prediction. Rangers 4, Tigers 2. Eovaldi cruises 6 with 7 strikeouts. Texas gets 2-run homer from Garcia in the 6th. Detroit scores late on a solo shot but falls short. This script fits veterancy trending versus youth at altitude. If you're tired of surface-level takes and last-minute guesses, it's time to lock in with beyond-the-box score, where every pick comes with purpose. Hit that like button, subscribe, and turn on notifications, because we break games down the right way, with weather reads, bullpen decay, hitter-pitcher data, and sharp line movement baked in. We don't throw darts, we fire bullets. Let's get you ahead of the books before the first pitch. Today's a slate built for winners. Let's break it down and beat it together.